Hey, what's up, guys? You're now listening to Devo with Uncle Theo. Today is day 241, and we're going to close out Jeremiah with chapters 51 and 52. Jeremiah started his prophecies with multiple nations. Now he's ending with Babylon. And this is by far the longest message regarding all of the foreign nations. We pick up in verse 1. This is what the Lord says. See, I will stir up the spirit of a destroyer against Babylon and a people of Leb Kamah. I will send foreigners to Babylon to winnow her and devastate her land. They will oppose her on every side. In the day of her disaster, let not the archer string his bow, nor let him put on his armor. Do not spare her young men, completely destroy her army. They will fall down slain in Babylon, fatally wounded in her streets. For Israel and Judah have not been forsaken by their God, the Lord Almighty. Though their land is full of guilt before the Holy One of Israel, flee from Babylon, run for your lives. Do not be destroyed because of her sins. It is time for the Lord's vengeance. He will repay her with what she deserves. Babylon was a gold cup in the Lord's hand. She made the whole earth drunk. The nations drank her wine. Therefore they have now gone mad. Babylon will suddenly fall and be broken. Wail over her. Get balm for her pain. Perhaps she can be healed. We would have healed Babylon, but she cannot be healed. Let us leave her and each go to our own land. Let her judgment reach the skies. It rises as high as the heavens. Because his purpose is to destroy Babylon, the Lord will take vengeance for his temple. And as you can see the language here, God plans to get vengeance on Babylon. And we talked about this yesterday, a hammer that he raised up for judgment. He's going to break that hammer of judgment, just like Assyria, for its pride and haughtiness. Verse 17, everyone is senseless and without knowledge. Every goldsmith is shamed by his idols. The images he makes are a fraud. They have no breath in them. They are worthless, the objects of mockery. When their judgment comes, they will perish. He who is the portion of Jacob is not like these, for he is the maker of all things, including the people of his inheritance. The Lord Almighty is his name. You are my war club, my weapon for battle. With you I shatter nations. With you I destroy kingdoms. With you I shatter horse and rider. Before your eyes I will repay Babylon and all who live in Babylonia for all the wrong they have done in Zion, declares the Lord. So God says he will seek. He says he will defend. God is showing Israel that he will defend their cause and he will avenge them. He's showing the futility and the folly, as he's always done, of pursuing idols. And he brings that back up again here in verse 45 through 47. He says, come out of her, my people. Run for your lives. Run from the fierce anger of the Lord. Do not lose heart or be afraid. When rumors are heard in the land, one rumor comes this year, another the next. Rumors of violence in the land and of rulers against ruler. For the time will surely come when I punish the idols of Babylon. But the days are coming, declares the Lord. I will punish her idols and throughout her land. And when we end this chapter, it says in verse 63, when you finish reading this scroll, tie a stone on it and throw it into the Euphrates. Then say, so will Babylon sink and rise no more because of the disaster I will bring on her, and the people will fall. The words of Jeremiah end here. And so you have a final note there from Jeremiah about their prophecy. And basically the last part of this chapter is 2 Kings chapter 24, 25, almost verbatim, word for word. And so a lot of scholars say that since Jeremiah said he ended his words in chapter 51, maybe Baruch, his secretary, added this appendix, this conclusion, if you will, to tie in the prophets to history. Remember, we've covered all of the history, and we have to continuously remember that we're laying these prophets in their specific time period based on the kings and the nations that they prophesied against. And that's how this book ends. You remember how the captivity seemed very hopeless, and you got a glimmer of hope at the end of the book. Well, Jeremiah, or Baruch, if you will, writes this here. It says, Zedekiah was 21 years old when he became king, and he reigned in Jerusalem 11 years. He did evil in the eyes of the Lord, just as Jehoiakim had done. It was because of the anger of the Lord and all that happened to Jerusalem and Judah, and in the end, he thrust them from his presence. Now Zedekiah rebelled against the king of Babylon, and in the 9th year of Zedekiah's reign, on the 10th day of the 10th month, king of Babylon marched against Jerusalem with his whole army. He encamped outside the city, built siege works around it. The city was kept under siege until the 11th year of King Zedekiah. On the 9th day of the 4th month, the famine in the city had become so severe that there was no food for the people to eat. Then the city wall was broken through, and the whole army fled. They left the city at night through the gate between the two walls near the king's garden. Though the Babylonians were surrounding the city, they fled toward Arabah, but the Babylonian army pursued King Zedekiah and overtook him in the plains of Jericho. All his soldiers were separated from him and scattered, and he was captured. And the last few verses mention the people taken into exile. It says, so Judah went into captivity away from her land. This is the number of people Nebuchadnezzar carried into exile. In the 7th year, 3,023 Jews. In Nebuchadnezzar's 18th year, 832 people from Jerusalem. In his 23rd year, 745 Jews were taken into exile by Nebuzaradan, the commander of the imperial guard. There were 4,600 people in all. And just like 2 Kings, Jeremiah ends with hope. You have the king in exile. You had the false king Zedekiah raised up. But the true king is in prison, and all of a sudden he just starts to receive favor out of the blue and starts to be treated well. And you remember we talked about that in 2 Kings. This is God fighting for his people. Even though they're in exile, he's still showing Israel he's with them. I'm going to take care of your king even though he's in exile. And that's what you hear here. This is exactly how the kings closed, and this is exactly how the prophets close as well. And it's so encouraging. And it says that in the 37th year of the exile of Jehoiachin, king of Judah, Jehoiachin was released and freed from prison. He spoke kindly to him and gave him a seat of honor higher than those of the other kings who were brought with him in Babylon. So Jehoiachin put aside his prison clothes and for the rest of his life ate regularly at the king's table. Day by day, the king of Babylon gave Jehoiachin a regular allowance as long as he lived till the day of his death. And you see the power and the hand of God still guarding, protecting, and shepherding his people, even though he's punishing them in exile. Great is thy faithfulness. And we'll hear those words exactly in our next book when we pick up Lamentations, which is where that great hymn, Great is Thy Faithfulness, comes from. And this is Jeremiah's weeping, his lamenting for all that has happened. Looking forward to digging into that book with you on tomorrow. You guys take care and have a good day.